I began it in concept maybe 5 years ago. Tim Crowley, who is our benefactor and who helped set that up, our liaison with Marfa, I was new and I had worked with the Vise Theater in Wild Wind. It was a component of Wild Wind the first couple of years, and it wasn't working out really very well to try to slip something that's a year-long process in a 4-week process, but in a small amount of that 4-week process. So when Tim got to know me and the program, he said he wanted to do something that he felt like would suit our students, but would also suit Marfa. But if you're going to come to Marfa, obviously you need to spend a lot of time in Marfa as well. Well, I knew we'd see the art and the light. Program I admire more than most others. I think he's made sense of it. I invited to be artistic director.
Sometimes universities, they're about to do their first device piece, so they'll ask me to come in for 2 or 3 days, or even just come in and do a 1-day presentation, here's our whole process. So the part that I try to convey, no matter how long the residency is, 2 weeks here in Marfa, or a week at this university, or a day, or 3 days, is that's important in this 5-phase process that I've been researching and developing.
Well, Teresa back or Doug Wright is here last year. Yeah. So I do that. I enjoy reading.
Begin with a hunch, and you collectively sort of decide the terms you're going to use, and then how those terms are going to inform the particular physical choices and acting choices and movement choices, and then how an understanding of the art gets wrapped into those choices, and then how interviews with people in Marfa get wrapped into the narrative and the stories. The wonderful thing about it is, if you're a student, you don't see the seams. You don't see the 5 steps. They're just organically part of how you're developing something. But I do remember the first year looking at you and saying, wow, this stuff is good. This is amazingly good. Sometimes this is better than what we've done in 6 weeks following a regular script sort of good.
Right.
Red hawks made a nest towards the back of the fenced yard, and my dad reverently observed 2 eggs become fledglings and then fly away. There were coyotes, huge packs that sounded like banshees in the dark. Once a coyote got a hold of our black chow.
She said, I still love my mother. I mean, she loves me so fiercely. I just can't trust her. So that was the quote. A little bit further, it says, I had almost completely emotionally disconnected from my mother. My father was my rock, and my mother was my mother. I never stopped loving her. I couldn't, because she loved me so fiercely.
Yeah, we're still having...
I just couldn't trust her.
I think it's of a shovel to chop off the big snake's head and then toss the remains over the fence into the brush. I learned quick how to distinguish the difference between a bull snake and its venomous doppelganger. You never killed anything that isn't going to hurt you.
I thought, and I thought it represented a transformation of their relationship, right? You're supposed to love your parents.
But
you don't have to.
yeah,
You don't
biologically we have to.
That's right.
Just biologically.
Yeah, and the sense that I was getting with Lydia's writing, what she shared from us was whether she has to love her mom because of duty, or whether she loves her mom because she wants to love her mom. Regardless of loving her or not, she can't trust her.
Yeah.
And I mean, do we have any people in our life that I love you, I just can't
Trust.
I can't be with you every day, or I can't tell you all my secrets because I can't trust you, you know? So anyways, I thought that was kind of beautifully tragic, kind of poignant. That being said, me sharing some inspiration that I got from someone, do you think that's something we could find a moment for?
Yeah.
All right, let's...
Okay.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
A company member once brought in this beautiful moment. God, it was so gorgeous, the writing, like we were all just moving. And she got done, and we were all just like, couldn't breathe for a second. And she's like, but that can't be in the show. And I went from open and full heart to as did the whole company. And that almost broke that company. And that was such a, and I had never made the rule. I didn't know I needed to. That was my bad. I learned from that. So now a foundational credo is if you don't want it in the show, it never comes into the room. That's the clear distinction between theater as therapy and theater as therapeutic for the artist and the audience. Plus, again, it's a removal away from the personal ownership that can make it really challenging when moments get cut. So if someone else is performing your writing, I've just found in my experience that helps keep the cohesion of the company tighter. And again, it's back to our foundational work, the acting process. And then again, that's a courageous act. And that's why I set some boundaries around that, you know, or some rules, I guess. You know, we don't want anything to be brought into the room that isn't being given to the company, because another one of the rules is once you present material, you don't own that material, you don't own that story. It's now part of the company's shared common language. So someone else might be performing your story, or someone might take your story and edit it down, or they might use it as inspiration to write their own fictionalized story. So it's a real giving between the company members, and to really let go of the ego. That's one of the reasons why we start on day one in the research phase with listing out our credos. How are we going to work together? And one of the credos that we have on the board that the company checks in with every day is let go of ego, and it's about the work, not about you, and that we'll try all ideas first and evaluate second. And those are company created credos, so those are different with every devised company, so that we have this way of working that then invites and allows that exchange of material. It's really based, devising, in some ways, it's just based on this idea of valuing the cross-pollination of ideas and the belief that working collaboratively together and by building upon each other, saying yes and to one another, that we can write a much better piece than any one of us individually could create.
The next thing I remember was it was like we both got to the door at the same time, or kind of at the same time, and I literally saw Jim, who is like in his late 60s, trying to carry my sister, who is convulsing in his arms, and all of her body weight to the nurse's cabin, like inside, like he's pulling her off the cart and trying to
They were trying to carry her inside?
Yeah, and she was just like convulsing, and I was like, you know, in like
Jim,
movies,
a late 60s guy, grabs him from the car, tries maybe, that I don't know how to say the rest of it.
I don't know, but like, you know, in movies when like everything goes like, whoosh, you know, like
Oh yeah,
when the
everything
entire
shuts down.
world
Yeah.
is like, that's what it was like. Okay.
What part of any one of these stayed with you first? And secondly, why? Right? So I can think about this woman who came to that office with her briefcase that had a lovely aura to it in the first few moments, and then it transformed into something that was ugly. And the second part of that, so there's I'm hanging on to that. I'm hanging on to you pulling your sister to the side and saying, what do you think? Right? I'm hanging on to the woman's expression changing. So why am I remembering that? Right? I could tell that whole story, probably verbatim. I could tell one of your stories. I'm hanging on to a part of this in what you said, shit is circling Odessa, and some people get out and some people sadly won't. Right? So why am I hanging on to that? Why am I hanging on to this picture of this woman that you had talking? She mentioned she had children. You changed in that moment. You were taking care of her, wondering if she thought it was, like there was that moment was so packed with so many different things for you, right? Or this woman that you offended. I can go through and find something about every single one of you that stayed with me or will stay with me. And what you have to think about as people who are working on this project, but just also as performers of whatever else they are, it is to you, is why those things stay in the mind and why others leave us quickly. And there's a reason for it. It's not just happenstance. So let me ask you, what do you think? How many of you remember the story of this young man that he transformed in high school?
No.
Right? Would you raise your hand if you have a strong, vivid image of him or remember that story? Yeah, I mean, look at him. Why do you think? Some of us can pick that out?
It was a life or death situation. We learned.
Say it again.
We learned it was a life or death situation.
Okay. Anything else? Well, there was a stake. There was something at stake.
You could, with his telling, you could see how important it was to him.
Right.
So then, if it's that important to him, it should probably be that important to me. So
Right.
I keyed it on.
The sincerity of how Eric told that story was actually part of the storytelling as well. You can't really separate the two out.
For us, it's like people need to know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm comfortable sharing it. It can be hard for me to talk about because I don't talk about it very often because it's like, you know, but this is like a safe space and this is a place where we're using these things that have happened in all of our lives to give something to other people. And it's the same way that, like, listening to Jason's story, for me, I was like, yes, I know exactly that feeling that he's going through because I've been through that. And there's gonna be other people who are like Jason who are going through that right now. And I can be here to say, I've seen it, I've been through this, it gets better. It might take years, but it gets better. So for me, that's where a lot of it comes from.
The story is just a facilitation for you to access something. But when you are successful as a writer, whatever that means in the moment of creation, is when you can access several of us. That it lands on many of us. Not everybody, because it's just not ever going to be all of us.
Why art in this desert town, or why do they have these writers that go and seclude themselves there? I mean, for some reason, that's just a great place to be for it all.
Donald Judd stopped there in the 70s and he said, I want to get away from New York, so I want to build here. I think the desert, and as you see it there, you know, Corey always jokes that, you know, you drive to the middle of nowhere and then
you go to the middle of nowhere, you make a left, and you drive 3 more hours, you know, and then you finally get to Marfa.
And it really is only one red light and, you know, a couple of roads, sort of a T.
Yeah, that's
And then
it.
there's a lot of, for some reason it's really peaceful, I think, because you navigate your way around pretty easily. But it's not like it's conflict free by any means. It's got several different types of people living there. You've got, people who left New York who are there, and then you've got people who lived there their entire lives, and you've gotten cotton farmers, and then you've gotten very, very wealthy people. You've got fancy chefs who know New York cuisine, and you've got the burrito place where they only speak Spanish and the burritos are $5 and they're huge. It's where two cultures or more than two mix, and I think that's appealing. I was telling a student the other day that there's no way a short 2 or 3 day visit would give you any idea about what that city was about.
Compelling with works like this, and what I've experienced with minimalist works is that I'm trying to write about it a little bit. There's a simplicity. It's like maybe in math how an equation can get unpacked and it becomes really complicated, and then that's an expression of the intelligence, is how complicated it can get. Mm-hmm. But then the real intelligence happens towards the end when it simplifies. And so I'm just recognizing that in a lot of these sculptures. And instead of going around and taking in every single one, it's nice to sit down with one and get to know it. And a lot of artists will talk about light and get really geeked out about light. And so it becomes kind of this something that we all know and we all talk about it, so it becomes so familiar that then we get lost of its real significance. But the way that the light is behaving in this work, it's coming in from outside, it's entering this really small gap in the back of it, and then the way that it reflects off the stainless steel creates illusions of transparency. The stainless steel behaves in a way that's very distant from its physical nature. And to me, that's just a really, really beautiful aesthetic experience. Because I'm looking at a form embody this nature that is very far from its natural stance. So I'm just taking it in. This is a pretty neat opportunity.
I'm reminded of the first year we had an art student who was involved, and the first year the art students did the entire devising process, and I remember she wrote this beautiful piece that ended up being read towards the end of the show that year, and it just was unexpected. It was unexpected over what you saw in her and her personality through the first week and a half, but then this piece came out of it. And I think you find, what I see in students is that they discover that there's something else that they really sort of gravitate towards. Mm-hmm. They may come in and think, I'm just an actor, I'm just a designer, but they leave going, I may be an actor, but I really like design, or I really like playwriting. I really like to write, monologues or whatever, or scenes.
Anything else, but I'm trying to just experience it for what it is and do my best to not project anything onto it, but just sit and listen to the work, get to know it like I'd be meeting a new person.
I didn't know what to expect of the process the first year. I had no experience with devised theater, wasn't familiar with the term devised theater, so I didn't know what to expect. And so the first year was truly fascinating for me to watch how this thing grew out of just the seed of the hunch, and then watch Rich really work with the students, and they discovered what it was going to be, organically.
You want to start?
We just started walking a direction, like we kind of had a location in mind, but...
And then we met our friend.
And then we met our friend. Oh yeah, oh god, that guy was wild. We went into this store that was closing, and this dude was like, he had like...
He was cleaning coffee.
Yeah, he was cleaning like a coffee maker, and he had like this rug that was Devo, like, you know, like whip it.
Yeah.
He was like, do you know Devo? And I was like, yeah, whip it. And he looked so disappointed.
Yeah, and we kind of we were kind of easing our way into it, I think. Like
Yeah,
we walked
yeah,
in,
we
like we walked
tried,
in
we
under
had no
the guise
idea
of
what
like,
we
oh,
were
we're
doing.
interested in your store,
We're just
we're gonna like
gonna
check
look
out what
at
you
your
got for sale.
store.
And then I was thinking about the best.
Yeah, no, I feel like maybe
That's
he
not
felt
good.
a little cheated, especially since he was like,
yeah, and then we walked over to him and we said, I think I said, how long have you lived in Marfa? And he immediately read that as you were gonna start asking me some very pointed questions about Marfa. He immediately came back with something to be like, I'm not gonna be your Marfa story. And it caught me so off guard, and I said, okay, that's a very, very direct way of answering the question. And I'm sorry for, you know, kind of just barging in at you on you so late. But then he like proceeded to tell us his life story too. But
Like,
anyway, kind of got swept up in the conversation with the people we talked to.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to the questions, but I think we sort of organically got to at least some of them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which was
And there was a lot of like, it kept happening. I like that idea of just like holding transformation in your mind. Which, is it just emotional, or is it like, he also said, Marfa is a place where your car just breaks down and you never leave.
Yeah, and there's
it's
apparently
like,
a story of something that actually happened.
Yeah, that actually happened. Later on in the evening.
Was taking not a road trip, like a trip to California, and lived in California and set herself up. And her car broke down for Marfa, and she just decided, she picked up a job, I think, to help pay for the car repairs, but then she just stayed here. She never left. And I think she's still here. Which so goes the story. Because you see, because in like, we go to an auto mechanic shop, and it's just like the complete disparate example of like shag carpet walls and retro TVs lining the walls, right? And you walk into this place and you check it out and leave, and all of a sudden we're like at a pool.
Yeah. Or like the Stripes across the street talking to like a girl who went to high school there, and like
there's
telling us how
like,
boring Marfa is and how you only go to Alpine if you want to have fun. Sorry.
No, it's fine. But it's right. There's just all these different like snatches of microbiomes of different Marfa sort of world, really.
Yeah.
And we got to see a lot of them, and each one was just a kind of pocketed experience. That was really cool.
So we're going to shy away from saying that there is a product at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's confusing, because product-based work is what we do so much in theater, right? Because you have an audience, and that audience at the end of something wants to see a finished product. So if somebody knows the musical Guys and Dolls, they have expectations they bring into it, and then we try to meet or exceed those expectations. And we have, the first audience, the preview audience, when it has to be ready by opening night.
It does become more and more challenging for students to live in the unknown and to work and create and to find that courage within themselves to say, we don't know what the show is yet, and we're going to avoid that rush to the end, rush to answers, rush to the product, and we're just going to really take the time and explore the questions and to value the questions and see where the questions lead us. Because the major part of devising is you don't know what the show is going to be, so you're listening to the show. It's kind of like archaeology in a way. You're kind of the sculpturist artist, who starts with material, and then you're trying to find where's the show within this. So
we say in this that you're invited to a rehearsal of where we are at the time. And to that end, only 1 year has everyone been off book. Mm-hmm. So that really marks it as a rehearsal.
Okay.
They're carrying a book around. Right. They're looking at what they're doing. We don't worry about that. We don't fight them to get off book. So that's process. I think our entire school is process-based as much as we can be within the product that is theater. And I think the joy of that is really breaking down the components of the choices you're making as an actor or as a playwright or as a designer. So in device work, that process, which becomes almost instinctual based on high school, you get a script, you have 5 weeks, the 5 weeks, what it looks like, the lull. As a director, you think, okay, they're dead right now. They haven't made this discovery yet. But even Rich Brown has originated a process where with a regular product-based play, you do it over 10 weeks and you do 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. So an actor in those 2 weeks off really has a chance to explore choices, not within a 5-week compressed period. So process is a word we throw around, but it really does mean, oh my God, we're starting with words. We're starting with just breathing. And then what happens when you breathe and move? And then what happens when you breathe and move and touch? And so it goes that basic all the way until how it's performed.
So we're going to make a lot of material that never makes it into a show, that never sees the light of day with an audience. But that is not time wasted. We have to create that material to kind of build this mountain of work that we can climb upon to be able to see, like, what is our show? We're going to start by just working with shape, okay? So one element, single elemental forms. And it's very different if I do this. I begin, I end. That's just shape. That's very different if I go, I begin, I end. Because I had tempo, time, movement, shape, duration, etc., etc. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if my intention as a theater maker is to only work with the element of shape, then I've got to be very diligent, very rigorous about isolating that element down.
I begin. I end. I end. I end.
We start when we start making forms with kind of very simple elements like shape, right? Because the stakes are lower. Everyone can come, I begin, I end, isn't asking as much. And then we get more complicated by adding more moments, and then by using more complicated, by adding more elements, and then by choosing more complex elements themselves. Okay, so now I'm going to ask for the element of accumulation. It's a little more complex of an element. So you're working with accumulation, a broken expectation, and gesture. So again, gesture is a very simple element. So now we have simple element with gesture and then 2 complex elements. And I just want to note again, the difference between surprise and broken expectation is that for broken expectation, you've got to create an expectation in order to break it. That's very different than a surprise, which is something brand new.
Gesture accumulation and
gesture. This is
accumulation.
This is our
gesture
gesture too.
accumulation.
We have this gesture, like wait 1 minute, and then go grab a chair, and then accumulation, and then broken expectations.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
We had it the whole time.
Okay, let's do it. But we gotta start with these off the first stage.
Okay. Somewhere, yeah. This will be behind.
So we should start with the stool because it's the shortest thing. The thing's a little bit shorter.
Cool. It's behind there. So
I'm trying to reach you.
Who's bottom? Your bottom, right?
Oh, he can't go on top of himself. Oh shit. Well, we gotta keep lifting our arms a little bit.
Yeah.
You gotta go get something else, dude. Straight across the stage. And then I'm gonna come back. Just kidding.
Yeah, we'll just keep going without him for a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I can
Yeah. I can. Let me try. If you guys keep going,
Suck your hands real quick.
Yeah.
Let's try.
I don't like it. I'm
I'm stable. Yeah, I'm stable. Actually.
Or you could just like you could like rest your head on top.
Yeah, just put your chin on top.
Or like
Okay, yeah.
like
So do it again.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So if we put our ears together and face the same way, and we become one consciousness.
Okay. Okay. For which part?
So something good.
Okay.
That.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lead, I'll follow.
We're just like
Yeah.
over top of each other.
Three of us kind of like around one
We came back with an idea of a form of content and how we can potentially play with that. So we told each other our ideas and kind of decided it was best to use our first 45 minutes on just the writing itself. Then we're gonna play with the actual staging of everything. Because if you don't, I mean, how do y'all feel about it?
I mean, I think we were pretty comfortable with the forms from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like you had a really good idea of what you wanted to do with the tape. You had a really good idea of what you wanted to do, and I was pretty confident with the jacket thing, right? And so I think the only thing we were struggling with was exactly what they're not right now.
Yeah.
is the actual writing portion of
Yeah,
it. So I think we just have opposite worries. They're worried about exactly how to pull it all together, but I think we're pretty confident in how it's going to come together at the end. Like we can all kind of see it, I think, in our heads. It's just a matter of all of this.
Yeah, it's interesting
All this writing, kind of finding the right stuff, because we didn't really have a good idea of how we wanted to pull all the writing together. So that's what we're working on.
And I'm looking at the forms. I have just pictures of them on my phone, so
yeah.
I'm just trying to look at them.
Yeah, we all had like kind of similar problems but different problems at the same time. So we're all kind of researching right now.
December of last year, my grandfather was suffering from heart problems and underwent a major heart surgery. Things were looking up. The doctor said that the surgery had helped and he was on track to make a good recovery. However, the night that he and my grandmother returned home from his stay in the hospital, he took his own life. My grandmother was the one who found him. It was very sudden and unexpected. This took a huge toll on my family, but my grandmother especially. I had never really seen my grandmother cry very often. I had never seen her more distraught. I had always had this image of my grandmother as being this woman who was very positive. From that point on, she hasn't been the version of herself that I always remembered. She was a woman dealing with a loss of a magnitude I can't grasp.
How is it to share such an emotional story with a group that, sort of like takes that story and ropes it into all kinds of different things? And, what's it like to now see it kind of morphed into the show?
Yeah. I mean, when I wrote that response to the prompt, I didn't know that like what we were writing was going to be shared with the group and possibly used in the show. But there was still, I felt like there was a reason that I needed to write it, because I started writing about something else and then changed my mind and was like, I think this is the story that I need to share. And so that was my thought going into it. And then now that it's actually going to be a part of the show, I just felt like it was not really something that I wanted to be a part of telling because it's so close to me. And I don't know, I think there's something kind of nice about putting it in the hands of other people to perform it, and then especially seeing it change, because I think it helps me realize like that other people have gone through this too, and it can be various situations, but at the end of the day, it's sort of the same like story and the same effect on people's lives. So if someone can relate to it, even if the story's changed a little bit and it's not my exact story, then I'm happy with that.
Please. Yeah, that's much better.
Yep, you got it, Rick.
Please. You like that, don't you? You think that's good? Is that good stuff?
Yeah, so that we
Yes,
try
you may
to
have more.
take advantage of opportunities that are unique, and recognizing that, like, hey, Marfa's there, and we didn't have to do this, but it seemed like a really good opportunity to be challenged and to learn something and to experience a place. And I don't know if we would have been able to make it out to Marfa without this excuse. So it's not easy to travel with little kids. And Jason, we got Jason to come too. So all in this little Subaru Forester.
We do. I have your size and your spaces down.
Oh no.
I'm like, so like
Like
you,
a
you
weird
have a
little,
canvas. You have a canvas, and I'm like, all right. So like what's your
You're
plan?
doing it, you're doing it.
What's your plan for this? You're like, you know, and then you just don't. You're like, I don't know.
Jason and I go way back, and we're brothers. And
Yes. One is 2.0 is the edited one.
we took a picture earlier with matching glasses, hats, and mustaches.
I'm pretty proud of those
And
pictures.
we're emotionally preparing to separate from our superficial likeness again.
I got a mustache because he asked me. He was the only one with a mustache. I had like a nice kind of goatee thing going, and then I think you were in the kitchen, and you were like, you should do the mustache thing with me, and I said okay. And then the next day,
We are coming from Turkey, Ankara, Bilkent University, and we are senior next semester.
We will be senior.
Yeah.
Why theater?
Why theater?
Yeah, why theater?
It's hard question actually. In high school, I want to be a soldier. I wanted to be an accountant. I mean, I was confused. I didn't know what will I do for my future, and then I decided to be an actor. That's why I chose theater.
That's a common courtesy. What?
It looks cool. I saw them in situation.
Because I can be everything, every man. In theater. That's why.
It's a good way to experience all kind of man character.
Yeah.
Theater is a bridge between all around the world's peoples, and like 10,000 kilometers away, Turkey and Marfa. It's very interesting thing. We have been almost always a strike play, strike psychologic, realistic plays, but it will be a devised play. We can write, we can order.
Yeah, this is something
brand new for us.
We don't know what we'll do, what we do.
No.
The sprinting server was with the plates when you run back and forth. Plate.
Speaking too fast.
When you run back and forth with the plates, plate, and the guy's like, go get another plate. And so he goes to get another plate. And he's like, go get another plate. And he stacks the plates on top and on top. I thought you were involved in the first version of that.
Plant right here or elsewhere?
Like, with the plates that you kept stacking.
Okay.
And then this one you said?
Yes.
That was the one. So that was the one where they walked up. They walked up those few steps, and they told the seizure story. And I don't know who it was, but somebody's going like this to like mimic a seizure. Okay. That's got potential. I think that one, because that one's very. I mean, that's not very like. That's another like pretty heavy. Just like the school shooting, that's a pretty heavy one. Yeah, but both of those we haven't really been playing with those that much. So.
Yeah, I don't know content about that. The whole list. That's why I can't do anything.
What about that? Foster smiles.
Red line.
Saying, it's all the kind of good things that you like because you're solving something, right? You're solving this equation that I never participated in anything like this. So I come from a very literal narrative beginning, a middle, and an end kind of storytelling. And this, of course, is anything but that. I'm not trying to be literal about this because I love that you've made this thing, but the swing is such a strong element, right? So, and it has a lot of meaning. A swing just has meaning to it. So, what does it mean? How does it inform the piece? Why have you set it on top of there? You know, they need somebody who sits back and looks at it in all its kind of tendrils and says, okay, that's some really interesting stuff. And you're not telling a story. You know, it's interesting. It's visually interesting. It's emotionally jarring, or it's, you know, it's visually provocative, but you haven't told a story yet. And so your audience is like, what? So, you know, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to kind of sit on top of it. What's hard is not to fix it for them. That's what's hard. Is to not say to them, well, you know, if you just flip that around, you'd actually make sense of it. It's very real. I mean, it's the only way I know how to put it. And I love the use of the bubbles, and I think that's very, you know, it speaks to everybody in the room. And of all ages. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe my parents wouldn't get it.
Right.
But I'm the generation that, I'm probably the first generation that's out of my parents that would, and then all the way down to you.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So anyway, so I think those are great. So right here, our friendship began with an expiration date. Maybe not an expiration date, but a known date where we would no longer be in the same place. I think you strengthen your position if you lose, maybe not an expiration date. Our friendship began with an expiration date, a known date where we would no longer be in the same place.
Okay.
I think that is clear. I know what you're saying, which is, well, maybe it's not an expiration date, like we'll never be friends again.
Right.
But actually, I think what your piece becomes about is, you're kind of tipping your hat a little bit. Mm-hmm. If you say, well, not an expiration date.
Yeah, that's
because,
true.
you know, the question is, will you be friends ever again? You actually don't know.
Yeah.
So I think if you just cut that little phrase right there, I think or not cut it, just consider losing it, because then I think you strengthen that opening. Mm-hmm. And I also think that it doesn't tip your hat to what the rest of the piece is about.
Yeah. That's
Do you
true.
have any questions about this? Because it's some good writing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
They're theater makers, and so no matter what you're doing, you're always telling a story, right? So you just have to flip your head around and go, okay, how do I tell the story? And that makes you a storyteller.
Because I feel like...
And you worry about the narration, I'll worry about the line.
Yeah. Because I think even starting with one time I did mushrooms, then going into music, I think might be cool.
Okay.
Do you want to do another run?
Can we do the start?
Can we just do the beginning? I was thinking about starting with just with him sitting in the chair with just the light on him, and saying, "One time I did mushrooms." Any of us who recreationally use drugs know that the mind-altering effect is kind of overdone. But those of us who have experimented with psychedelics, it's a lot different from other stuff.
There was it, and then I was thinking there were times when I couldn't hear the voice over the music, and I thought the music might change when it started talking about things going wrong, but then it all stayed the same, and I didn't really see any kind of finish to it.
So an artistic idea suggestion, we got to find a dynamic change. We don't have dynamic change in this yet.
Yeah, I'm unclear what she's about. I'm unclear what her role is in the trip.
She's the mushroom pixie.
I try to find ways to kind of pinpoint a mission that everybody's passionate about and that they want to implement without the interference of ego and personal, maybe vendetta, to try and just a singular mission to drive us all intrinsic.
But now to get the star moment connected a little more to the nature sound moment, I'm just going to ask Shane, Mr. Shane, all the time Shane, never Sean, but Shane. Shane, to be off stage and to use this magic clip light that that Rick brought in, and to just win, again, trying to link up the content, what we hear and what we see, when we get the cue of the suburb. So that's going to be Shane's cue, and then he's just going to match the tempo of the movement to turn this into a street light over top of the narrator to the end of the text. And then at the end of that moment, then I just wrote real fast at lunch, a little extra text for Audrey to include to tie the nature sound moment into the star moment. So this is actually an example of sequencing and overlapping a little bit, but it's overlapping because the stars moment is going to be there through the entire thing. And then I just added a little extra content at the end to really like bridge these two into one.
I haven't seen an owl, and the whippoorwills only talk back occasionally now. My dad hasn't seen the red hawks in about 4 years. The new subdevelopment that went in across the road destroyed what was left of the bobcat's territory. Snakes don't torment the dogs and wreak havoc on my dad's nerves. Even the coyotes are quiet in the evenings. Too many big trucks and security lights. I didn't hear the cicadas this year.
Exactly. Yeah. But we skip the back and forth. It's more of just he breaks them apart. They start heavy breathing, and then he has to like backtrack on another line and like calm them down. And then the other image I saw was, I think it's like the third paragraph when he's like, high school to high school, high school to college, college to college, all that stuff. Yeah. I thought it'd be cool if, so let's say he's walking down the stage, whoever's reading it lands at a certain spot, and then we use that high school to high school, high school to college, college to college to do the evolution thing. But he's already standing at the front of the stage as the last form of the evolution.
I like that.
So it comes out from the side, but he never pays attention to it at all. He's just there as the last form of the evolution chain the whole time. Yeah. And then something impactful could happen when he says, "You can never look back," and then I don't know what happens.
You might have already been hitting on this, but one cool thing about Never Looking Back is the fact that there's this evolution that's been occurring behind him.
Yeah.
You can never look back, right?
Oh, he doesn't look back.
Right, yeah, which goes along with what you just mentioned.
Maybe we build...
I mean, that's kind of a button.
Yeah.
You know, if the chain is complete, you never look back.
The graph ends with a line that's, life gets progressively harder, we just get better at dealing with it, which I think could be like a nice resolution to
Maybe
that.
we build the whole moment around the guy reading never turns around to see what's happening behind him.
Yes.
Like maybe he's always just walking. He starts in the back, comes through the double doors, never like looks back. But the other three people are like doing stuff around and behind and involving him.
How about there's also Mike's second one. This one's a little more poetic.
Okay.
Oh, he's got a song at the beginning.
He wrote a song?
There's a song in here.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing this at all.
I don't
think this is new.
Like that could have been the one that he played for us. Remember when he played for his virtuosity? But is this one about his niece? I don't remember.
I'm reading it and it says it might be his response to art.
Friendship began with an expiration date, a known date where we would no longer be in the same place. When home has an Air Force base in it, you come to expect things like this. Friends that leave just as soon as your friendship begins. A few solid months in the same town, months full of sleepovers, movie nights, hours of conversation, understood, comfortable, never tiring of hours spent together. But then the day came, and you left.
main reason I'm like pursuing this degree is because I like have all these creative outlets that I enjoy, and I didn't know which one that should take precedent, right? So Texas Tech is like giving me this opportunity to like do all of the things. So like I get to act in things, which is what my major is. I get to still play music, which is super cool. I do like graphic design and sound work with Seth Warren Crow, the guy that runs our sound design. So I get to do everything, which is like, that's kind of what our process is, which is just perfect for me.
If you had everything to use and you had all the money in the world, you never in a million years would have created Puppet Consumer. We never in a million years would have created this cool looking swing. It's only because a creative container forces you to get creative. I can make theater with, I mean, it's just stuff that, you know, plastic, couple pieces of fabric, piece of rope, and old IKEA rack that's not being used. And look at all the different, like, they're doing a whole set design based on that. This is all you have to create with. Then you just go depth, and you've got to be creative because that's all you've got. So really part of the whole process of devising, you know, if you can devise anything, you've got to start setting some creative containers for yourself. So you set an opening night, that's a creative container. You cast a company, that's a creative container. You say we're going to use these objects, there's another creative container, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to explore this hunch, that's a creative container. So it's a process of adding more limiting containers on you that just spark the creative impulse.
Like sometimes it just happens. It literally just, like with Matej and Jason and Shane and I yesterday, it was just 2 minutes, we folded that up, put it on the ground, and we're like, oh, that's it. And then Eric and I, night before last, it was just like, just spinning wheels. It was Audrey. We were just like getting frustrated at each other, and it was like, oh, I'm not angry at you. I don't know what's like, our brains just aren't connecting for some reason that time, and it's kind of, it's high pressure.
No more moments exist.
No more moments exist.
This is a glamorous bag.
And I mean, that last round of moment making, they're getting so sophisticated with the creative container, the elements that they've been given, and marrying the form and the content together. It's also thinking about the whole show, right? We want variety because that helps give rhythm to the piece. So we want some moments that have some solo moments, just one character on stage, but also some moments that have 5 and more characters on stage. So if that's involved in part of the moment making process, then you've already got that when you start to put the whole show together, that variety of scale.
The time crunch is terrifying for me, but that's where we like really get to kind of fall back on the rest of the people in our group. Obviously with music, I'm kind of like on my own, but I get to know like, okay, I can sit aside and do this, and you guys can take the rest of it, and we'll come together in the last like 2 minutes, and it'll be great. So yeah, it's like a trust thing, really. We got to trust each other, or else there's no way we'll make the time crunch that we're put in.
Do you feel any pressure as a director that you have a show but you don't have any material? So
yeah, so I love to think about devising as it's just a big exercise in problem solving. I mean, we have an opening night, you know, we have the dean and VPs from Texas Tech coming, so there's always some pressure for that. And the problem is you don't have a play, you don't have anything to show, so all we have to do really is just solve that problem. Big deal.
Okay, what form can we use to convert him? What form?
And then can it end with you guys just putting the happy sticker on my head?
Yes.
Or taking it off, or like I don't. Or what if you take it off and then put on a different one?
Yeah. Take it off and replace it. Yeah. Take it off.
Or what if they just put like a big smile tape? You can take that off and then put the happy sticker on after we all.
And that'll be it.
All right, guys, that's one.
I'm very excited. What did I just watch?
I couldn't.
Wait, all this being said, you are also a cult member. So some of the things you caught, or if you saw all of it, you'll be doing that stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need a piece of music to go with that?
Yeah, we do. What piece of music? So
I pulled up some indie and folk music.
We can. Okay.
Kind of like
Let's hear it.
I'm an abstract entity. So I think it's strange to acquire these.
It sounds so good. It's my favorite.
Hey, now, Steven, we were kind of thinking the whole moment with Eric, kind of like, I feel like we can do all the same stuff, just to me, it like kind of steals focus, you know what I mean? Okay. And I think he can just like, whenever you come out, he can just disappear. You know what I mean? Like, okay. If he only goes down that far, he's gone. Yeah, we talked about it, because if we're going to do the exact same ritual, I still like you getting lifted up so that you can reach down to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Always right there when I need her.
Let's do. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go from the guru segment, or do we want to go from the top from evolution?
Let's go from the top. How about top?
Let's run the whole thing and then take 5.
I think if it's something that's really like complex, I mean, granted, we're not trying to wax philosophical most of the time, but if it's something that's got more complex ideas, I think sometimes sitting down for a minute and kind of mapping out where you're going before you start doing is fine. But some stuff like this thing, I mean, we just jumped in and said, okay, let's try it, and it turned out okay. So I think it just depends from one moment to the next, and I think everybody's doing a good job balancing between when we need to sit and talk for a second, when we need to just jump in and dive in head first and see what happens.
First you put some food into your mouth, chew it up and swallow it head south. You may think that's the last you'll see of it, until your body turns it into shit. Digestion, turning food and drink to poop. Digestion, it's a culinary alley-oop. You toss the food into your mouth and got it to the loo. Digestion, transforming food to poo. Look at that, they're cow nibbling grass. Some's a cut, some comes out of its ass. It all changes one way or another. Some of it is milk out of the udder. Digestion, animals poop too. Digestion, I think it's time you knew. From the mighty mouse to the glorious Cebu. Digestion, your body's own fondue. So yeah, there's that done.
Okay, perfect. I love it.
Yes. I taught elementary school for 10 years. You're welcome.
Can I look at your lyrics
Yes.
sheet?
Good luck reading them.
Can you end it with sometimes shit happens kids or something like that? Something along those lines.
You want to
It's
end it
okay.
that way or start it that way?
Shit happens
It's
to
all right,
everyone.
kids. Shit happens.
Because I was saying,
Yeah,
we
somebody
could
shoots his
start
fence.
little sequences throughout the show of shit happens moments.
You come back with the guitar. Digestion.
Yeah.
So it's do da 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 do 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 do. Damn it, baby, and then everybody's like, "What the fuck is your problem?" Yep. So drug baby orders. So who's pinching? Who's pinching?
Pinching a loaf.
Who's cutting?
Cutting a
rope. Who's dropping a deuce?
Dropping a deuce.
Unload the caboose. Bless you.
What?
So if it's drop pinching a loaf.
I don't know because it's obscene.
Cutting a rope. Dropping a deuce. Unload the caboose. I gotta figure out how to make drown baby otter for that. Pinching a loaf. Your food goes in the pot.
There was a shooting in El Paso this morning.
Whoa. I had not heard that
18 dead, 4 children.
Holy
At a Walmart.
Yeah. I've not gotten a New York Times buzz alert on that.
I mean, it's been pretty.
It's still active within the 2
I think
hours.
they got it done. I think the 2 shooters are in custody. But that was late this morning, early this afternoon.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Good to know. Yeah, can we just have a moment of silence for that?
Mass shootings throw your body to the floor. Some days you're out shopping with your mother, then you take a bullet for your brother. Mass shootings, they'll only slowly go insane. Mass shootings, this bullet's headed for your brain. Training in the darkness of your room, carry out the mission here at noon. Mass shootings, let's debate until we're blue. Mass shootings till one day it might be you. Bodies swiftly cooling on the ground while politicians just go round and round.
Is it the lighthearted treatment of this?
It's
That
the
is,
lighthearted treatment combined with a couple of the imagery of bodies cooling on the ground.
Okay.
And you know, in the way that these people haven't buried their loved ones yet in our state.
I was in that Walmart the day before at exactly 10 o'clock in the morning, which is when he came in the next day. And I was at the door that he came in. So at 10 o'clock, we would have met each other a day later. So if somebody wants to take that and use that, I won't write that because I'm a little too close to it right now. And it's a little creepy for me. But if somebody wants to take and use it, you can. And I know what you're talking about because it's, you know, that's tough. It was tough for me to hear that. But I do think we should talk about it.
Yeah, I think there's something there.
I think what just happened here is a really interesting distinction between typically what happens in the visual arts and what I've been trying to wrap my head around in theater. And the visual artist would punch you in the stomach and say, that's how you're supposed to feel right now, and they just leave you there. And it's, Shannon, your reaction, they'd be trying to get that as high as possible.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And in theater, there does seem to be some kind of a responsibility to carry our audience. If we're going to punch them in the stomach, then we're responsible for also leaving them in their chair so they can go home. And they might have a really heavy experience, but they're okay. And I think
I mean, there's so much clever stuff in this entire series, so I know that that would probably just be moved a little bit into something that will make us go, whoa. Because it's there, but it's whoa and
Disemboweling.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was taking a risk. I knew I was taking a risk, and I'm really glad people reacted. Because if people didn't react, if people were like, "This is very funny, let's not talk about it," then the callousness reflects back on the ensemble. But to be called out for callous, yes it is. Yes it is. This is treating something very serious and very soon with the frivolity of a shit song.
I think the opportunity there transcends the theater context and goes into the performing art of you're an artist who wrote a song that says this, and all of a sudden now it's Ian, the performing artist with a message.
And the fact that I'm thinking about it so much is it's like where the art is in there. Yeah, there's something good, but I wonder if there's it's tune, if it starts off the same way and the tune changes. I don't know.
I mean, there's another verse.
There are a couple of lyrics that I think, I mean, and yes, you make a point. I mean, because the best art should hit us in the gut. It should. Cabaret is about not paying attention to what's going on in the world around you, and then you wake up and it's there in your face. The SS is there, and the idea of ignoring it is, no. I think it should be addressed. I think we are doing something right now, right after this happened, and I do think it's our responsibility to talk about what's going on in the world, especially with the kind of work we're doing.
That we're not going to sit here and have another moment of silence and grieve and feel the sadness because nothing changes and we're still talking about it amongst the living. And that the way to really stir things up or to get real change is to be so inappropriate that everybody's offended. And now the initial tendency is to apologize for it. I don't know what I was thinking. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And then you give it 5 years and you look back and it's like that's the best piece of art that came out of that.
The sequencing, stitching, layering.
Yeah.
How complicated does this become? Because it sounds like they can kind of understand we're going to take a moment and do another moment, but the stitching part seems to be a little tricky.
And that it depends on which part of the process in terms of how complicated. Like right now, because we're just trying to do sketches to see if these moments sequence together or if they layer together. Not as complicated because we're still in the creation phase as they will get when we get to the development phase, when we really start to go deep into which moments we're hanging on to. Then we'll really work on the stitching part to make sure that creating a clear narrative arc for the audience from beginning, middle to end. So that's really the next phase development that we'll do once we figure out which moments are definitely staying in the show.
And you said sketches, so this kind of is just where we start to look at everything, but it sounds like you're going to start taking away things as well.
Oh yeah. What we're still in we're in the creation phase, so we're still making new moments. So tonight they're going to keep making new moments and start to layer and sequence moments. Layering and sequencing moments is kind of a bridge from the creation phase into the development phase, because we're giving ourselves information of which moments we are interested in and want to explore more, and that process of trying to put them together is part of that exploration. So those moments we're also giving ourselves information. These have more likely possibility of making it into the show than the moments that don't get touched as we start to build the show with layering and sequencing.
Well, right now I'm watching campfire stories and silhouettes inside of a maybe, what is that? It's probably 11 feet, 12 feet tall condom.
Does this look like a condom?
Not from this side.
No, the open side of this. Kinda.
Never seen that before. Yeah, I think I might go next door and paint and try to regain some sense of continuity in my life.
Have you stopped painting during this process so you can just dive into acting?
Yeah, when you put it that way, it makes me feel like I have an addiction, because I relapsed this afternoon. I had to paint, and so I brought some paint with me. I brought paper and a handful of other things, and so I started some painting projects this afternoon.
What does that do for you?
Painting?
Yeah.
It lets me create something in the world that can receive a lot of action. It can receive a lot of work without necessarily making a big footprint. So in some ways it might be a meditative process like that, where it's I'm thinking in paint and marks and layers, but not in words. It's just that visual process. So when it goes well, then I feel like I've accomplished something good. And when it goes poorly, or I give myself, if I'm making bad paintings, then those are good problems to solve. And that's where I feel like I've accomplished something.
Insecurities. Transformation.
You want to raise it so it's off the ground?
Yeah.
Can you raise it so it's off the ground? So the sheet's off the ground?
Yeah.
Maybe we need a wrap.
A what?
A wrap.
A rap?
A beatbox?
I think we need to use the beatboxing! We got all
Yo, listen up, because I'm here to say climate change is going to kill everyone.
I wonder what the animals have to say about how our shit affects the natural world!
Raccoon, get your dick out of that snicker wrapper and drop a sick beat.
Yo, motherfucker, I'm a fish in the sea. I'm a busy ass bitch with places to be. But I ain't getting nowhere cause of somebody. Thanks to humans and your islands of plasticity.
Ross says the polar bear, we're dying all over. Climate change is real and I wish it was colder. Bipolar ice caps are turning to water. So turn your car off and prevent this slaughter.
Nah, son, you don't seem to be getting the point. But the bees are here to shed some wisdom up in this joint. Oh wait, I forgot they already dead. Fuck this apiary shit, go to the bird instead.
Caw, I'm a bird and there goes my nest. It was a part of the tree you just demolished. Stop deforestation is my only request, and we can live in harmony. #blessed.
Sorry for the lecture, but we almost done. It's your friend the sea turtle here to wrap up the fun. So sit your ass back and you'll learn a ton. What my friends are saying is meant to help everyone. And remember, on this planet you ain't alone. Take good care and protect our precious ozone from the turtles, birds, fishes, bears, and the bees. Taking care of Mother Earth makes us so happy. So think twice before you act and consider us all, and then we won't have to write another rap for y'all.
Glove, motherfucker.
What about the bees?
The bees! Eating worms is overrated.
Bees.
Just to put the work in a frame for you all. So we are coming up to the end of our creation phase and getting ready to go into our development phase. And part of that is taking individual moments, or you might think of it as like little pieces, little skits, however you want to think about them, and kind of combining them with others to kind of start to build longer building blocks of time for our show going on. So that's what you'll kind of see. Original moments getting mashed into other moments to extend them. And then after when you go, then at the end of today, we're going to go through, literally select what moments we're going to hang on to for the show, let go of a bunch of moments because we made a ton of material this week, and then start to get our first draft structure for the entire piece that we'll be sharing. So that's...
But I do want to give you a piece of advice as you go into these final few days, and that is there's an old adage that we use in playwriting that I want to share with you and then modify it for you. In playwriting, we would say you will never create a story more interesting than the people that are in it. Because stories are finite in their details, but people are infinitely complex. So the details of the story will play themselves out very quickly, but the people in it will not. Because that is a life journey trying to figure out who you are, right? So this is lovely, this thing that Lydia came up with, and it's interesting only so much as the people that are in it. It is not because those people out there don't know what this is. And then they'll recognize it for a minute, and then they're done with it. But it's who's in it that they're attaching to. So your stories actually have to be people-centric first, no matter what it is. And then you layer on top these lovely conventions of this and light and sound and all of that. Does that make sense to you? So don't let go of the people thing. You can't. It's what they connect to on some level.
It was based off an interview that Delaney and I had, we were just trying to take some of the inspiration from that and just apply it to a form. So maybe not the right word, but like kind of bending the what do we got emotionally from it to fit what we want to do right now.
Like just shape, can I make an element or a form with just shape? Can I make a form with just tempo and breath? Can I make a form with just spatial relationships, height, and water? And so we just do a bunch of form making. We're not talking about content at all. It's in the room, but we're not focusing on it. And we're just making form for form's sake, so that we can follow like Tectonic's mission statement in search of new theatrical forms. And I always say, if I use this example, like, make me a form about marriage. 9 out of 10 people would be like, this.
Really?
And like, we know that, you know what I mean? Like, we know,
that's not where I go, but that's
fine. Right. Versus, if we start and just make form and then we put content of marriage or that idea into it, then we're going to have some space between the form and the content, i.e. what we see on stage, which really is what a form is, what you see on stage, and the content, the meaning, the message, and there'll be space there, but then the audience can work as like meaning detectives, so they're actively participating and trying to make sense of what they see and hear when there's tension. So we just started making all these forms. We just had a couple of days or a day and a half here actually making all these forms, and then some of them we keep, a bunch of them we don't. So if the company is responding, the idea is kind of like they're the first test audience. So if it changes their breath, if it changes their body, if they're leaning forward, then like just hang on that form and see.
And I remember that part.
You can choose another one for it.
Yeah.
Bell and Bottle just popped up, where it's like the crunch and the dip, where it's like, well,
maybe this one. I don't remember its name.
Yeah,
something like that.
Building.
Yeah, but we can change it.
That's great. We're talking about all of the things that people that people, yeah, that people are contributing.
You can do it from way back.
Yeah. People they're racing to help out, right? Coming from all over the world. Sure. Like they're adding stuff. We're getting things from like this from this place and 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 this place, and
But I think we're getting there. We have a lot of content to work with, which is awesome. And we have a really good group. Everyone's super collaborative, very creative.
I think it really works. Now, what I've got over here then is as watching the play kind of reveal itself to us in this idea of archaeology. Here are some major through lines that I've been seeing develop. So we've got Adam's story, of course. We've got a number of moments that I would call falling into like nature climate moments. We've got a number about just like a one character personal transformation. And I always just kind of put miscellaneous at the bottom. And this is sometimes a good area to think about, like, what's a good transition moment to get us from A to C, B, so we can put that in there. Because the idea, once we put this up again, if you remember, here's like lights up top of the show, and then here's curtain call at the end. Is mass shooting up there? Oh yeah, there it is.
I wrote 2 songs about mass shootings. One was really inappropriate. It was a reaction to the news in El Paso. And it was just kind of on the nose, pretty aggressive. And I took the note of approaching it with sensitivity and tenderness. And so I wrote a different song that is very simple. It's kind of like a folk song.
Turned on the news today. It was the same news as yesterday. It goes on. It goes on.
We talked about making it a moment of song where like the ensemble lifts its voice together. I think it might be really cathartic if the whole audience does. I don't know how to navigate that. I'm not a professional singer-songwriter or much of a performer these days, but that would be nice if we could like all kind of raise our voices together.
Into our show. Because what Adam will do for the audience is it will give them an emotional hook to pull them through. All of it's going on. Okay? Okay. So, any other big thoughts and questions before we start talking about sequencing possibilities?
I think the question that comes to my head is, are we going to alter the content to kind of fit within Adam's story, or are we just going to leave it how it is and place it in the timeline?
What content are you talking about? The content of these other moments?
Yes.
No, we leave that. So we've got Adam's story is a thing that's going through, and then we've got the other.
So by themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And the thread becomes this character Adam that ties everything together around this thing of transformation.
So I think if we put it towards the end,
if we put it
towards the end, it's going to be an easier way of buttoning down the show, I think.
And
the overall message.
Remember, our ace in the hole is we do have our hoop song to pull the audience out. So we could, if we're gonna go there, we could go there and stay there for a while, and we could put the mass shooting and the school shooting kind of close to each other, if not back to back, and then pull them out of it with the hoop song. So that's
There's just so much of the imagery that's like the same.
Similar.
Yeah, I would almost do like
But it
mass
also,
shooting,
like,
poop song, school shooting.
Yeah, there's something about that overlap or repetition of imagery too that's it could get us somewhere near what Ian's song was doing today without Ian's song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Could the poop song, Mr. Rogers' character, could this be a show that Adam watches, right? And so we have there's 3 songs. One's funny, a poop song, and
one's about losing a family member.
Yeah, try not to add new stuff.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Right.
Well, it's just expanding.
Well, can the Adam shooting and the mass shooting almost be layered or combined somehow?
That's what I mean. They're like right on, if not sequenced directly on top of each.
Yeah, I'm saying not even sequence, but like
layered.
just combined somehow.
Yeah.
But if Animal Rap was,
then we separate Dad's monologue out of that. But yes, you know what I mean. But yeah.
Well, we can.
Is Love Slap still up there? Bread needing love slaps?
It's a love slaps.
Because what if bread needing was the Adam dad bread needing moment with love slap?
We don't want dad slapping Adam.
No.
Okay.
Like the way that we talked about it afterwards was that those were two houses that were in contrast.
Right.
And so you could show that Adam's house. I don't know.
The opposite one. What if we go from high school teacher where Adam like finds his dream to have contrast, and we go into evolution consumer puppet?
Yeah.
So we see the track that Adam.
So I need to go 2 fixtures to my right.
Growing up too.
Yeah.
So it goes like this into this.
I think the server one could also go with that, unless we put it somewhere else.
It is
on there already.
Oh, okay. I just can't read it.
It's around the board.
Okay, what was that?
Or you could maybe almost switch the high school with the consumer.
I just want 20.
That moment.
No,
Well, I
what-
guess it's not about Adam, so it really doesn't.
Right. We got right now we're going animal wrap into this here, yeah. And then we could, because this is kind of funny but also kind of dark, then we could go into God bless languages. Could also comment on that possibility.
Yeah.
Put that down there for now.
Poop song start.
And pretty soon we
It
want
starts
to.
with the shame line with the toilet paper on their shoes.
Okay, watch me carefully because I just had a hunch, so I was just gonna put this in here and then we'll react to it. Trying to figure out the end. What if we go here? Then we definitely go here. And then we go here.
No.
Something about this. We're getting dark for a while. We pulled him out. We have this touching generational thing, which might then somehow be our last bread.
What's the generational thing? Sorry.
Grandma and grandpa.
Gotcha.
Which might be our last like bread image somehow, and then we end with this very
Is this before
simple.
poop song?
This is before poop song. Yeah, poop song. We've got to have poop song to pull us out. If we're gonna layer these on, poop song has to pull us out of that.
There's just. And also literally saying shame after the politicians are talking about
Shame, yeah.
Talking
Oh,
about
that could be
shit.
no matter
For a
what.
little bit, I have to talk about
We
my
all
shit.
still
Not
do a
drink.
serious shame line, but he moved into a silly shame line of
Are you saying shame after this?
Well, that's how poop song starts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and
That's
it's so
all
really
really-
they
I was thinking
contextualize by saying
ease
everything
into the
positive and
transition.
shit.
Totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, it comes right after that. Yeah. That's a good point.
Someone say shit.
What do you got in your hand, Rich?
What I don't know. So I want to check on this first, see how we are here, and then I've got a big problem in my hand that we got to find a way to
Rich, that
solve.
transition between mass shooting and poop song, you guys think that everybody's gonna be ready to laugh that quickly?
I
I
also have that hesitation.
I don't think they're gonna have a choice.
I think with shame,
Wow.
well, I think the shame is our transition.
Yeah.
Shame, and we might play a duration, extend that shame line to get us into the poop song.
Okay.
And there might
It
be
also-
some dialogue or text or something. That's right.
It also feels like really young as far as like, it's like, hey kids, are you ready to talk about digestion? You know, it feels like almost chronologically younger. If that makes sense within the context of the story. Fair point. Because we have like really light stuff at the beginning, it feels, and we get darker and darker and darker and darker.
Right.
You know, and there's a sincere moment in Grandma and Grandpa, like a really kind of sincere, like love that's present.
Are you saying
So,
that's good or bad?
if
I
I'm
don't understand what-
interpreting,
It's warmer than
Yeah,
it is.
okay.
if I'm interpreting you, Alec, and trying to lead it to a suggestion,
Sorry.
and
It's
trying
just
to
not
lead
singing
it to a
to the tape.
suggestion, I know that Animal Rap and Butts Go Hands Love Each Other are connected, but does Animal Rap have a certain tone to it that's more powerful after the school shooting instead of Poop Song?
Yeah, maybe, or maybe even taking. I mean,
animal rap
and switching them. At the same time, animal rap does kind of touch on a serious subject, whereas poop song really doesn't.
You right before emotional gun punch is you laugh because you
Mhm.
naturally
Yeah.
release all of your guard. So
And then
we
Grandma
can
Grandpa
try-
is still. It's not like
you're not yanking them back up. You're
It's
sweet.
sweetening
It's sweetness.
Yeah, it's
back
sweetness
up
that
to
takes
Adam's
us
dad, and then I think we're fine.
as a sense of
And then we can write a
and
song.
I think
And if we want, this could go, or this could
What
could
is
go.
that?
This is Are You an Artist? Art and Phone Evolution. We could do something like that.
It's a bit
or
of a
we
non
could just
sequitur.
say
Yeah,
that
if it's
this
in
is-
there, I don't think it's there.
How are we feeling about this guy? It's just been in my hand for a while.
I like it. I want to put it.
I think we blow them up. I think we blow them up, and try them each individually.
Didn't Tim at our first meeting said like they're not interested in like art? Like
Yeah, it feels like
it feels like
they've probably
a little
heard of
Marfa E for me, where I don't think the rest of the show feels that way.
I was
Yeah. Well, tell you what, we're getting pretty darn. How about for now? Let's just live over here in our non-purgatory. Non-purgatory. So this is up there as a reminder. This has been blown up. We don't need that anymore. So this is
You're not in the trash yet.
I got they're just these are just to remind us as we stumble through this and we need a transition. Like this isn't working. We've got a couple of options there. The Adam Dad magic trick, the Adam Dad kneading dough, and then we just know like kneading dough is a callback that we can put in. So let's look at this here and see how we're feeling. As a first swing, remember, like the whole process of devising, we don't know until we stumble through this sucker tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you about that later. Jason?
So my immediate, the way I was birthing this in my head, I was thinking that there was a connection with the birthday and the grandma being sort of life death. And I think if we rework the birthday to be not funny but sort of tender and emotional with the dad and the son, where he's trying to like impress him, and it's not funny that he messed up the joke, but it's sort of like, oh, that's really sweet. That might be a nice emotional geography near the end, right before or after Grandpa. And so we have the food song, we take them out, we're shooting. We have sort of a tender moment with the birthday. We have the grandma and the grandpa, which is very sad. So, again, deep moment.
So in that case, then that's a total dad flashback to that memory.
Yeah. It's clear that Adam's dead, then a flashback works fine.
Yeah.
Are they that far up?
I guess does the
I think that means somebody's got to write that because we really don't have that moment
Yeah.
yet. So if somebody wants to make that moment in your work session tonight, we can totally try it tomorrow.
My question, final scene, is that it is Adam's dad reliving or searching for that.
Right.
And if we already do the birthday again after we know Adam's dead, I think we take away from the final scene.
That's a good point.
Okay.
I think that might be really
Good.
nice emotional roller coaster for them.
Yeah.
We bring them back, we're like, oh,
I
he's
think
dead, but
there
here he
is
is,
a
and
way
he's
to
flashback
do
later.
Let's put it up there for now. Let's try it tomorrow, and then we'll see. It's easy to pull it out.
Yeah, like if we hate it, get rid of it.
So right now we're talking about something like this.
But I think there might be something there.
But I'm putting what do I put around this? Question mark, because we don't have this moment. So probably tomorrow we would start our day by seeing.
How does Adam's dad end?
That
Him coming back and sitting on the bed with the monologue of Stephen Rhodes, which we can do some playwriting on if we need to make some.
I shot it to Gary. He did some very light editing, but we can shoot it again to him. We can all workshop.
There's a storyline that I think is presenting itself kind of over and over again, which is the Adam story. So it's about a young boy who lost his mother early on, who then was bullied in school, who became a problem in school, who thought about suicide, how his father is searching for the replacement of his mother, and then how this young boy is kind of saved by discovering the theater department, or the theater department discovering him, however that happens, and how he finds his salvation in that kind of creative expression. But then the story becomes tragic, and he's killed in a school shooting, and then the father is left to make sense of all of that. Actually, for all of us.
We'll use those as well.
So I think that's kind of a fascinating, complicated, emotionally charged, particularly given what's happening in El Paso.
And you think, really, this is all just organically come together.
Yeah, I mean,
prefabricated idea.
Completely. I mean, they didn't have anything to do with each other 2 days ago or a day ago, or even last night. A lot of this didn't have anything to do with each other. So that all just kind of fell into place in the last hour.
Okay, perfect. So you say, I'll go get the cake, walk off, and then there'll be a curtain so you'll be able to cross back up. And as you're doing that, I'm thinking as you're entering to lay back down in bed, I'm thinking we can have that. Maybe we have the sheet stretched across. Yes.
I don't know that I lay in bed because I'm thinking of costuming. The original scene was just me sitting on Adam's bed.
Okay, perfect. So I think then you
It's
just,
kind of this,
oh, perfect. Then I
like-
think you literally just fade up and go and sit on the edge of Adam's bed as Mom, Adam, and all of the other kids fade away off stage.
I mean, I think it's not weird, I guess, because I kind of like know how the process would go. So I'm both surprised and not surprised that a character could go all the way through. It's weird to know that it's a true story based on somebody that I actually know, and so to see us kind of like create this whole life for him is almost kind of like magical and surreal. But I mean, I think he would be honored to know that this has all been inspired from kind of his story and some things. So, and that's kind of how I feel too. So it's like, it's cool, but it also kind of shows you that the whole device experience is so collaborative and that one idea can hopefully spark other ideas, which then, you know, helps create the show. Of
course.
Why did we change the name from Adam to Deep?
Great question. Because we are casting, Matej in that role, and we had that moment about we had this foster child come or we had this refugee child come, and Gary and I were talking, and you know, appropriation is a big thing. I think we always want to be considerate about. So visualizing this family as having an adopted child, that instead of like making a big deal about that, we just put that on stage without commenting on it, and by not commenting on it, we're commenting on it.
Maybe like,
Son, I'm proud of you.
and then the mom comes in at some point
Okay.
and says, and honestly, like the only thing the mom can say is like I don't know, the cake's ready or some shit like that. And then the dad says, "Okay, Susan, thanks." And then,
Susan.
No, but I'm thinking, no, the reason is
Thanks.
Go get
no,
back
but listen,
in the kitchen.
listen, Lydia, he needs to say Susan at one point too, so the audience knows that this is the same Susan from the ghost scene that we did.
That's fair. That's fair. You're right.
If he doesn't say the name, then they don't know who it is.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
So don't make fun of me.
I was making
because
fun
I'm
of your
trying
own
to be
inflection.
narratively concrete.
You said,
here.
"Get back in the kitchen, Susan." What was
I
it?
said thanks,
Susan,
Susan.
go get the cake.
Thanks, Susan.
Okay, well, you can spin it however you want.
I didn't spin anything. Okay, cool, perfect. So, son, say there's party, cloud,
Yep,
cloud.
yep. That's just happening. There's no noise. That is.
Okay, wait for this. Party. Adam looks up, sees his dad, and maybe there's like a hug or like a pickup, spin around, like, happy birthday, son, I'm proud of you. Are you happy?
I'm pretty happy.
Okay.
Jay's happy, Rich is happy,
That doesn't happen.
and we cut the dream scene.
No, that's just happening before the snow. So what it is it's the dream, right? It's the dream. The dream sequence ends, and then what the dad is going to do is walk, and then it's just going to, the lights are going to change, and it's going to go right into a flashback. This flashback, and then it ends.
All right.
Ready, Bob?
Oh, sorry, we changed the name.
Doing
Because Bob was too white in general.
Bob,
So
good.
you
Yeah, I was
wanted-
about to say Susan and
Rich wanted-
Bob. God,
Rich wanted
these
to
people are
change
not
it.
relatable.
I mean, yeah, Rich wanted to change it to James.
James?
My name's James.
There was the thing that we did with the servers,
Yeah.
you know, and so and that was exciting, and there was a lot of tension and stuff. But I liked it the way it was. So there's gonna have to be discussion tomorrow about what it is.
Not to do anything storyline wise.
No.
So do we want to change that? Gotcha. And so are you saying that was the note that you guys got? Was that the scene transition was rough?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and like the context, as Stetson discussed before, like the context needs to be polished properly so that like we are actually seeing what is going to happen properly. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. Yeah.
So I think maybe a possible fix to that is that we kind of grab him by the backpack and take him off stage roughly or something.
That could work. Yeah.
But the biggest ones were this one where too much noise, you can hear the text, and then the exit of the bully.
So that'll fix both problems.
So after this bully scene is the Daniel's transition scene. After this scene, which scene is there? Like the transition? Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Are we doing that right now though?
No, we're not doing any transitions.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no,
We're
just work
focusing on
this,
this.
and then we can maybe go into.
Right. Okay.
Rita brought up the issues with the school in Alpine and how much things have changed. How so, I asked. Like, they all have to have their backpacks and stuff now, responded Suzette. 1 or 2 years ago, there was a school shooting. She went on to say that one of the students had been raped by her stepbrother and got pregnant from it. Her intention that day was to kill her stepbrother and her parents, who did not believe her. But she was carrying enough ammunition to shoot up the entire school.
Hold your breath. Make a wish. Count to 3.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.
Susan?
We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy the nation. If you want to
Sad when the sheet drops and the people aren't there.
Yeah. And also that barrier, just really interesting play with that idea of like we can see them and kind of the desperation of the bodies behind even trying to get through. I thought that was really interesting.
Ellen, I want to see your facial expression after you noticed there is nobody. I just wanna. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think you can do that back at the bed if you turn out and sit on the bed, and then we'll be able to see your face at that moment. On the first day, you'll fall into a talking trap, which is really like fear of the unknown. So the best thing you can do is just try and risk the failure, because you'll get so much information from doing it as opposed to just talking about it. At some point, I tell my students all the time, like, talking about theater is like dancing about architecture. It just doesn't make sense, so you just have to do it.
And then you'll rip him off and take it. Yeah. So that means helpers, you'll need to open and let them pull out, and then you go get the stuff. That'll work. Yep. So can we still put Torrigan where the material is on stage? So that's where he has his arrival moment, and then he gets up, and then we move Stetson down to where you just get that light.
So I'm doing that, and you guys kind of gently puppet me through it.
How does this go? This is the second portion of this bit?
Yep.
This is super puppets. How warm?
tray, but you catch it, you lower him, take the tray hard, let go of so everyone step back and look, hold on, I'm helping you, stop, oh, freeze, everyone look at Shane on the ground. Let that be a moment of, shit, we just killed this person. Back up, hide our steps that way, off stage. There you go. Now everyone, with the element of gaze, look to each other. And you can just share your eyes, feel when the audience tells you to then put him in the trash can. Great. And who's going to help put him in the trash can? Yeah, great. That's what we'll do. Today. Thanks again for the party, Daddy. Having fun. Here comes Susan. Can I have one friend who's going to run in? That'd be nice as a moment that we made before that didn't make it into the show. Can that be Toygun? Can you run in and say, Deepu, come on, and pull his hand off, and they run off stage again? And then we're left with Susan and Alan.
And here, I'll do this. Can you see it, Steven? I'm just going to place it under for now.
Yeah,
What you
so
sent me.
I checked the script this morning. I just assumed you weren't using it.
Oh, no, that's okay.
which is why-
Do you mind looking out here real fast?
It wasn't. It was confusing on the board, so I was just confused when I uploaded it.
So the email that you sent is this, yes?
Yes, that's
okay.
correct.
And then can you help me too with the end of it? What's it? So is this supposed to be formatted like this?
No, I don't know why that happened.
Well, psychologists tell us it's the risk aversion, right? So we're much more driven by the fear of failure. But I don't find that as a very healthy place to work from. So, and I don't think striving for success is necessarily a healthy place to work from as an artist either. I think there's a middle ground in that, which is to say, what needs do you have to communicate with an audience? And instead of trying to think about it in those binary terms of success or failure, which is in some ways like a control thing for a creative artist to say, how can I let go of some of my control and say, I can't create an experience for an audience. All I can do is create the situation in which an audience might have an experience. And the way I define success isn't if it's a good or bad show, it's did what I communicated from the stage match my intention? Quote unquote failure is valuable in this work because the process of devising is often, it is not an efficient method of making art. And I say when I do these residencies, like efficiency is great if we're going to make 1,000 automobiles. Great place to value efficiency. But if we're trying to create one original new piece of art, then maybe efficiency isn't the best value. You come to meet him downstage. Happy birthday. Thanks again for the party, Daddy. Having fun. Here comes Susan. Can I have one friend who's going to run in? That'd be nice as a moment that we made before that didn't make it into the show. Can that be Toygun? Can you run in and say, Deepu, come on, and pull his hand off, and they run off stage again? And then we're left with Susan and Alan. I mean, and you've seen it, I think. It's like participatory democracy for me, because this is true collaboration, and for me, it's true participatory democracy. We see a moment, and as the lead deviser, I don't say we're going to keep that moment or we're going to throw it out. We vote, and if we've got the majority of the company, and some of the moments that we've kept for now are kind of right on that cusp. Some of them are clear. You know, we've got 16 votes and 14. That's strong, right? Or we've got 2 votes, that's clear, that moment doesn't say so. It's participatory democracy in this part of the process. That's another part of what I've been researching and developing with my students at Western is, you know, we start in the research and creative phase in the creation phase by taking our specialized hats off. And then once we get to the development phase, we put those specialized hats back on because we want to utilize all that specialized training. So I want the lighting design person to be focusing on the lighting design, and I want the playwrights in that company to really be focusing on the text, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's participatory democracy as we're selecting the material that's going to be in the show. And then once we get from the development phase into the rehearsal phase, where it becomes more like a traditional theater rehearsal process, then that's where, you know, I've got my specialized hat back on as the director. So there I might make some executive decisions like I would in any theater process where the director is saying, slow that cross down in your tempo by 3, or we need to change this costume, it's not working, and collaborating again with the designers and the actors.
About
So
the
it's-
damage, I don't know, remember the pain he went through. We're gonna ask if the actor can go down to the ground, and we're gonna try to catch him with the Fresnel to get that shadow on the back wall.
Your feet to not.
Can you show me?
Yes.
Yeah. So he wants to be.
I just entered.
Okay.
With this body form.
Sure. And they're changing when it is.
The entrance?
The animal wrap at this time, so I'll have to dive into the trash can.
That's really good. That's really good. We need someone else with that umbrella. It's free.
We're good, Ian.
Just walk off that.
It's a pretty
He can do what Steven was gonna do.
Dinner. You are going to be dismissed here at 7, and you've got a 2-hour dinner break. We'll be back here to start at 9. I'm asking that you work from 9 to 10 to clean up those 5 moments. Also, look at your email so you get the notes and look through those notes so you've got those ready to go for when you're working that tonight. You understand what we're trying to fix tonight. Also, refresh so we're all working from draft 3 as you continue on with memorization tonight. We're going to print out draft 3 tonight, so you'll all have a paper copy of draft 3 tomorrow in case if you, ideally we would love to have people as far off book as you can, but that way you'll have a script, but we'll have no phones on stage tomorrow. Okay, so if you need lines, it'll be paper for scripts.
I tried to memorize it, but I'm not off book yet. Get in there. But then I realized the chunk of what I memorized is what I say off stage on the God mic, so I don't even necessarily have to have that part memorized. It's kind of the rest of it.
How many times has the script changed in the last 24 hours?
A lot. My stuff hasn't really changed, but lots of little things have changed.
And it can be horrible, or it can be like really, really awesome. Because you can have a writer who's like a perfectionist in every little thing. Like they don't have faith. And then you can also have situations where they're just so helpful to the director and the actors and the.
Okay, so while that's opening, so the text that we have right now above for this scene, this doesn't exist anymore?
I didn't write this.
I think it does still exist. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay, because this
No, that's it. Don't be a hero. That was the right stuff.
this
Don't be a hero.
sequence is school shooting / dad monologue, and it's mass shooting / politician tug of war. That's why we've got Rick's underneath it. So there's Rick's stuff. So this is part of that scene. So I think we need to know which of these. So is all of it staying? Is he saying all of this now?
Do you know where you're at in the script?
Oh, sorry.
I know I'm doing 3 things and I have no idea which order.
Put it in right there.
So I think we're going through. I'll have a dream where there's some choreography with Deepu and Susan. I'm playing James. The curtain will drop and there'll be emptiness. I feel very lonely because I've lost my wife and my child at this point. And then I'll go back to Deepu's bed, sit down, and what they're deciding now is that then I'll deliver this dialogue about, I guess it's a monologue, about sending home a active shooter drill that I went through at Deepu. And then I'll say, don't be a hero, and then somehow we transition back into a birthday party, which is this final memory. So we go from dream to alone in reality to memory.
And this is all coming together real time, right in front of you.
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm having anxiety about keeping up because it's just difficult, or if it's because I'm new.
Yes. You mean, are you talking about cutting the final scene, or are you
Yes.
talking about, okay.
I would like to cut the final scene.
Here's
I'll say it.
Here's
to say about the final scene is that I like that we actually see Mom. And so I'm wondering if there's a way of like seeing Mom and seeing, you know, Deepu in the dream. And then it's like maybe there's a time when Alan steps over and then the cloud goes up and then he can't get to them. I don't know, something like along the lines of that. Or then if not that, I think they do need to reappear at the very end over the bed, standing.
Yeah, I think we're about to see a version of, like, work on a version of the dream where we do modify kind of how you were talking yesterday and then just now. So we'll see what works. But I do think for now, I think cutting that scene out of it is probably a good idea.
Okay, what if we cut the birthday scene? What if we just see the dream sequence? It ends with Alan sleeping on the bed, Lydia appears from stage right, Matej from stage left, and then you just meet in the middle and then just maybe place their hands or stand over Alan while he sleeps, and then the music swells to fade to black.
Let's see it.
Can we just see that?
Yes. Yep. So the game plan for tomorrow, we'll start by seeing this ending. Then we're gonna do a stop-start rehearsal and make adjustments and fixes as we go. Then we're gonna try to shoot with a straight, uninterrupted run tomorrow afternoon.
I fucking need you to do the work that you didn't do last night. So I am talking to you very differently than how I talked to you yesterday, because I thought the work would get done yesterday, but it didn't. So now my stakes are raised. I need you to understand that this whole motherfucking program and all the work that students have done in the past is on your shoulders between tonight and tomorrow. So you've created these great fucking pieces. We will follow your need, but that will not happen if you're like, I've got some fucking lines to say. I've got some stuff I'm supposed to do. Are you with me? Did you feel that in our run today?
Mm-hmm.
So if it didn't happen last night, we're not done yet. We fucking open this shit tomorrow night. If it didn't happen last night, I need the shit. You need the shit. Texas Tech needs this shit. Fucking Marfa needs this shit to happen between tonight and tomorrow morning. I need you to find your fucking Grandma Becky. It changed that whole fucking scene.
I respect the intensity because the intensity is an indicator of love, passion.
True fucking story.
I'm not telling you at all how to do that.
No, I know.
It's like, the reason I'm saying it right now, Rich, is I walked into a room where there was an intensity that was making people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I needed to say that and start that conversation.
Dude, here's the thing. I totally appreciate that. And this is like the balance that we write all the time in the theater world. Like sometimes you need like a fucking push. Like I was pushing people on stage tonight hard. Like, dude, ba-bom, and someone and that's what we need to get to the next level. And that's sometimes a director's job. So like I was like trying to move forward, trying to get connected, and I couldn't because I was getting this. You've made like these really great stories. Let me rephrase this. What you have earned through your work this week and learning about this process and empowering your own voice and what you've made, there's an opportunity for tomorrow night's audience. And I'm talking like the people in Marfa. I'm talking like the people who will come here. For you and them to connect on this level. And I watch her run today, and I can see the potential of what you made. This is where I am. And look. I'm just talking to you from an artist to artist. I can see the potential of what you've made. And I can see the effect that you can have with your audience tomorrow night of all these citizens of Marfa that you can get to. and I was seeing the space between this and this in your run today.
Do you think that I need you for me to get there?
No, I think you need yourselves to get there.
I need to. So I need somebody to trust me.
I trust you all to get there.
I don't trust you right now.
Okay.
Your actions tonight. So I'm hearing your words fine, but your actions are telling me something different, so I don't trust you.
Gotcha.
I'm having a real hard time buying anything you're saying.
Here's the thing. The thing about being empathy warriors, tomorrow night is our shot to get there.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But the way you've behaved for the past hour makes me not want to work with you. It feels weird to me to like show up half an hour late and start yelling at us for not doing enough yesterday when you saw us earlier today and we could have had that the knowledge that we need to be spending our time more productively all day instead of staying an hour later. Does it?
No, totally.
Also, can I just say, we've run through the whole show one time. We've run through it all the way through, no stops, one time. So there's a lot of other things to be thinking about at that point than, oh, am I making the strongest acting choice here? So I feel like you're maybe not giving us the most grace you could give us, considering we've run through the whole show one time.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I would just add to the room because it's like I know a lot of us like appreciate like the tough love mentality, and I will say like I mean in your defense like we definitely felt the intensity, and I mean I have been working hard. I know we all been working hard today, yesterday to like get that stuff done. So like there is no denying that you are 110% in this, and like I mean you certainly have inspired us for 2 weeks. So like we sincerely thank you for that. And I guess now it's just like, I mean, even earlier when you asked us, like, what notes do you have for yourselves? I mean, I think we covered like 90% of your own notes, you know? And so, like we definitely know, and like we've been critically thinking for ourselves. And so, I guess as we've been, I think it's like us being so down on ourselves too. And so, you know, just like looking for the positive reinforcement type thing. So
I mean, it's issues I think that aren't going to surprise anybody, but I think the way in which they're being presented is sort of surprising and original. When they start from the very basics and they have to quickly sort of move into forms and moments, they get married to an idea, and then that idea sort of expands with a whole group and a whole collective sort of expanding it. What I always find sort of amazing is how when the tech comes, when you get the lighting, when you get the music, the whole show starts coming together. Yeah. What we've always had with Shannon Robert is somebody who I think can look at something, design it more quickly than anybody else, where it has integrity in terms of what the show is about. Yeah. And I'm really excited about how beautifully this group has worked together, and how incredibly serious they take this. I mean, they're at it day and night, and then they think about it at night. They come back in the morning.
So I'm an actor now, and this is a very important process of making my face less mustache.
I'm proud of these kids, aren't you?
Oh my God, yeah, they've done a great job. So much in such a short time.
It's so interesting if you look at this as kind of a mirror about what's on their minds, then it's fascinating. Like you can study this and go, oh.
You can tell what's important in their lives.
Yeah.
And what's important in the world and what's happening in the world, because recent events have certainly influenced what's happened in the course of the story.
I mean, the El Paso shooting happened while we were here, and Dayton, sorry. So I was curious to see how it was going to find its way into the show. Or if it would.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it just doesn't.
And it did.
Because they don't want to put it in their consciousness.
Yeah.
And as you well know, they took that on. They were like, okay, we need to talk about this. Of course, at the end of the process, everything breaks down. Everybody freaks out. And then there's this thing that always happens in the theater, which is really there is this magic thing. And you can ask Shannon or anybody. I don't know how it happens. But there's this one moment, and it all comes together. And you're like, how did that happen?
After last night's behavior, I have to start this morning by offering my most sincere apologies. I am embarrassed and ashamed that I broke the trust of a devising company last night. That's the first time that's happened to me, and I got a lot of information when I woke up at 4 this morning. When you break trust with someone, all you can do is ask if the other people will consider allowing you to have trust again, knowing that that's something that you have to earn back, and then it's 100 times harder to earn it back having lost it, because I really believe in what you've made it and what you've done this time. But I'm really, really sorry.
And I would like to address our missing cast member, Alan's mustache.
God, I'm so glad he's here.
Left in the dressing room if you want to go say bye.
He wonders why I've been avoiding him. I just couldn't do it. I said, no, I know.
I'm excited. This is good. Something. I mean, this feeling. It should be. You should feel, right?
Yeah.
Delaney.
Absolutely.
Yes. No one shouldn't be nervous because we trust in each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why.
We're fine.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Is there any problem if I just hop on there?
No. Yeah, I'll just start. And we we only have to worry about being in the house. I'll just be right there coaching, just with you right now.
Cool. Yeah. All right, let's do that right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks, Rich.
Totally, of course.
So I'm as ready as I can be, and I'm excited and I'm exhausted and glad I used a highlighter.
I need to double check and make sure it's
It'll be a good show though. I'm excited to get to do it.
Go!
I thought it went really well.
Yeah.
I could hear sniffles in the audience, so I guess that's good. Very excited about the way it turned out, I guess. It's a better word than interesting. The collaboration of all of it has been really exciting. And then the thought that like had any of us not been here, any one person not being here would have completely changed the product of the show and how it turned out and the message that we sent. So it's pretty crazy.
It wasn't a polished show, but we got to the essence of each scene and it flowed. And I think that the truth, if any kind of truth was discovered, was just that it's almost a belief. I'd use the word belief, where we believe in the show, we believe it to the audience, and the audience believes in return. And when that belief is connected, I think it's my first show, so that's my expert opinion on theater. I know coming into this program, I've thought for a while that one of the hallmarks of good art is its lack of inhibition. And when things make you nervous, that's usually an indicator that that's something to lean into. When I'm painting things that seem out of character or almost inappropriate in whatever context, seems like doing those things in the moment might not be pleasing, but 5 years later, that's the best painting that was made in that time period. And so I think there's something to be said about that edge of knowing what you're doing and believing that you can do what you need to do to perform. So for me to make a painting or anybody who's in the theater, putting together a show and a performance. Gary Garrison gave me a little tip while we were here. I feel pretty special. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing it, but he gave me a little saying that said, "Leap and the net will appear." And that sticks with me, and I think maybe that captures in some ways the essence of being an artist, regardless of if you're putting paint on canvas or acting on a stage.